Hello and welcome to Sports 360, your weekly dose of all big sporting events across the globe. Canada joins United States, United Kingdom, Australia in Beijing Olympics diplomatic boycott. This means countries will not send any delegates to the Games. Rohit Sharma has been appointed India's ODI captain, ending Virat Kohli's 5-year-long white ball reign. Rohit will also take over from Ajinkya Rahane as the Test vice captain. Five-time European champions Barcelona lost to Bayern Munich to miss out on the knockout stages of the Champions League for the first time in 17 years. And skateboarding, sports climbing and surfing that first featured at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics have been included in the initial sports program for the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. And apart from this, we also have our regular segments, Goal of the Week, Player of the Week and Sporting Moments of the Week. But first up, the cover story you are tracking this week. The US government officials will boycott the 2022 Winter Games in Beijing because of China's human rights atrocities, a move that has been heavily criticized by Beijing. Meanwhile, New Zealand's Deputy Prime Minister Grant Robertson said the New Zealand will not be sending diplomatic representatives at a ministerial level to the Beijing Winter Olympics.
The US has announced a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, China. The White House said no official delegation would be sent to the Games because of concerns about China's human rights records. It, however, said US athletes could attend and would have government's full support.
The Biden administration will not send any diplomatic or official representation to the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games, given the PRC's ongoing genocide and crimes against humanity in Xinjiang and other human rights abuses. The athletes on Team USA have our full support. We will be behind them 100% as we cheer them on from home. We will not be contributing to the fanfare of the Games. U.S. diplomatic or official representation would treat these games as business as usual in the face of the PRC's egregious human rights abuses and atrocities in Xinjiang, and we simply can't do that. As the President has told President Xi, standing up for human rights is in the DNA of Americans. We have a fundamental commitment to promoting human rights, and we feel strongly in our position, and we will continue to take actions to advance human rights in China and beyond.
After United States, New Zealand has also announced that the country will not be sending diplomatic representatives at a ministerial level to the Beijing Winter Olympics in February 2022. Talking to reporters, Deputy Prime Minister Grant Robertson said there was a range of factors behind this decision.
We've already made clear that we won't be represented there at a ministerial level. We made that clear to China, I think, in October. And so for us, that's a decision we've already made. But we've made clear to China on numerous occasions our concerns about human rights issues, as recently as the Prime Minister talking to President Xi. So they're well aware of our view on human rights, but we had already made the decision not to attend.
Japan has meanwhile said it will make its own decision on whether to send diplomatic representatives to the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokatsu Matsuno told a daily news conference the country has yet to make a decision and will consider a number of factors when it decides. Other countries, including the UK and Australia, are said to be considering boycotts. The Biden administration's diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics falls far short of a previous US boycott in the year 1980, when it pulled out its athletes out of the Moscow Olympics to protest against the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. The Soviet Union and its allies in turn boycotted the following 1984 Summer Olympics held in Los Angeles. The US is itself due to hold the Summer Olympics in the year 2022 in Los Angeles.
Canada has become the latest nation to join the list of US, Australia as well as UK to announce a boycott of the Beijing Winter Games early next year, citing its poor human rights record. But International Olympic Committee's top boss Thomas Bach remains unperturbed, saying participation of athletes is what really matters, the rest is politics.
After the United States, Australia and Britain, Canada has now decided to boycott the Beijing Olympics. All these countries have decided to diplomatically boycott the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing over its human rights concerns.
For the past many months, we've been in conversation with partners and allies around the world on the issue of the Beijing Olympic and Paralympic Games. As a country, indeed, as many partners around the world, we are extremely concerned by the repeated human rights violations by the Chinese government. That is why we are announcing today that we will not be sending any diplomatic representation to the Beijing Olympic or Paralympic Games this winter. Our athletes have been training for years and are looking forward to compete at the highest level against athletes from around the world, and they will continue to have all of our fullest support as they show the extraordinary success that Canada has at Winter Olympic Games.
The announcement came after the White House, the Australian government and the UK governments had confirmed diplomatic boycotts.
I don't think the decision by Canada or by many other countries to choose to not send diplomatic representation to the Beijing Olympics and Paralympics is going to come as a surprise to China. We have been very clear over the past many years of our deep concerns around human rights violations, and this is a continuation of us expressing our deep concerns for human rights violations.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson also announced the boycott earlier.
Mr. Speaker, it was clear from what I said earlier on that the government has no hesitation in raising these issues with China, as I did with President Xi the last time I talked to him, and there will be effectively a diplomatic boycott of the of the Winter Olympics in Beijing. No ministers are expected to attend. What I think the House and no officials, Mr. Speaker, but what I can tell the House is that I do not think that sporting boycotts are sensible, and that remains the policy of the government. As I've said before, we do not support sporting boycotts, but there are no plans for ministers, certainly no plans for ministers to attend the Winter Olympics.
The International Olympic Committee said on Wednesday it welcomed government support for their national Olympic teams for the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics, despite some countries announcing a diplomatic boycott over China's human rights record.
The integrity of the games are about the integrity of the sports competitions, and therefore, we have our full focus, on the athletes. The games are about and for the athletes, and therefore you will hear the same comment from us for every political decision from any government. We have been concerned with the athletes. We welcome that they can participate, that they are supported by their national governments, and the rest is politics, and our political neutrality, the principle is applied.
It all started after the United States announced on Monday its diplomatic boycott over what Washington termed China's genocide of Uyghur minorities in the Xinjiang region and other human rights abuses.
The sports of skateboarding, climbing, surfing that first featured at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics have been included in the initial sports program for the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. But weightlifting, boxing, modern pentathlon did not make the cut of the initial 28 sports and must meet certain criteria in 2023 to be included.
Building on the success of Tokyo 2020 as the most engaged Olympic Games ever, and with the endorsement from the LA 28 Organizing Committee, the IOC Executive Board today decided to include skateboarding, sport climbing and surfing in the list of 28 sports to be submitted for approval at the upcoming IOC session in February in Beijing.
Now shifting focus to cricket, Rohit Sharma has been appointed India's ODI and T20 captain. The opening batter, who captained the India in the T20s against New Zealand, will now take up the full-time responsibility as the India's captain in the limited over cricket.
In a massive announcement, the BCCI has named Rohit Sharma as the new ODI captain of the Indian cricket team. He will take over from his predecessor Virat Kohli, starting the 3 ODI series against South Africa in January 2022. The announcement comes on the day the board announced India's squad for the 3 Test series starting the 26th of December. Rohit, who took over as India's T20 international skipper after the T20 Cricket World Cup, led in the recently concluded 3 T20 series against New Zealand, which the home team comfortably won 3-0. With Kohli already stepping down as India's T20 international captain, it was only a matter of time before Rohit took over as the team's limited over captain. He was also promoted as India's vice captain in Tests, the deputy to Kohli, taking over from an out-of-form Ajinkya Rahane. Rohit has less than a year to prepare for the T20 Cricket World Cup in Australia next year, which will be followed by the 50-over World Cup in India in the year 2023. With Rohit Sharma-Rahul Dravid partnership taking over, the 2 upcoming ICC events promise to be the biggest challenge for Team India, especially after their poor show in the T20 World Cup, where the team failed to reach the semi-final, the first time it had happened at an ICC event in 8 years. Rohit has led India in 10 ODIs, out of which the team has won 8. The biggest achievement of Rohit's ODI captaincy came in the year 2018, when, in Kohli's absence, India won the Asia Cup in the UAE, beating Bangladesh in the final. The team won all its league matches, barring a thrilling tie against Afghanistan. Kohli, who took over as India's full-time captain in 2017 when the great MS Dhoni decided to step down, will go down as the country's most successful ODI captain with a winning percentage of 70.43. He led India in 95 games, winning 65 and losing 27, and is 4th in the list of most matches as Indian skipper behind Dhoni, Mohammad Azharuddin and Sourav Ganguly. Kohli's captaincy tenure ends without an ICC trophy, even though he is 2nd in the list of most runs scored by a captain in ODIs. Sports Desk, DD India.
Mumbai-born New Zealand player Azaz Patel recently etched his name in history books, becoming only 3rd bowler ever pick up a 10-wicket haul in an innings in Test cricket. With his rare feat, Azaz joined super exclusive club, which since 1999 had only 2 members, Jim Laker and Anil Kumble. Sports 360 takes a look at some of the prominent current spinners across full member countries who are of Indian origin.
Azaz Patel, New Zealand. Standing at 5 feet 6 inches, Azaz Patel so far has played 11 tests and 7 T20 internationals for New Zealand. Making his first-class debut in 2012, Azaz wore the Kiwi national colours for the first time in 2018. In 1996, Azaz's family decided to move to New Zealand from Mumbai's Jogeshwari area. Azaz was 8 years old when he shifted base to Auckland. Azaz there first started as a pacer, but then switched to spin bowling in his early 20s. From there on, cut to 2021, he recently became the only 3rd bowler in Test cricket's 144-year-old history to register a perfect 10. Azaz so far has 3 5-wicket hauls in Test cricket and has best figures of 4 for 16 in T20 internationals. Rachin Ravindra, New Zealand. Budding star Rachin Ravindra is another such story of an Indian origin player representing New Zealand in recent times. The 22-year-old, who is jointly named after Indian legends Rahul Dravid and Sachin Tendulkar, thus making the name Rachin, made his debut for New Zealand in 2021 itself and so far has 2 tests and 6 T20 internationals to his name. Rachin, born in 1999 in Wellington to Indian parents, made his first-class debut in New Zealand in 2018. Rachin's father, Ravi Krishnamurthy, is an Indian software engineer who moved to New Zealand in the mid-90s. The left-arm orthodox spinner so far has 3 and 6 wickets in tests and T20 internationals respectively, and also has 107 runs with the bat in international cricket. Ish Sodhi, New Zealand. Ish Sodhi is a player Indian cricket fans know very well. The 29-year-old has been a regular part of the Kiwi setup in the limited overs format in the recent past. But the leggy was not born and brought up in the island nation. Born in Ludhiana, Ish's parents migrated to Auckland when Ish was very young. From there on, the leggy played his early cricket in Auckland and honed his spin skills on spin-unfriendly pitches of New Zealand. Ish so far has represented New Zealand in 17 tests, 33 ODIs and 66 T20 internationals, and has also played a crucial role in his team's journey to the final of this year's T20 World Cup. Keshav Maharaj, South Africa. South African left-arm orthodox spinner Keshav Maharaj was born and brought up in Natal, Durban, but has an Indian connection. His father, Atmanand, is an Indian-born South African who in his initial days played for Natal province in South Africa. He, however, could not represent South Africa during his playing days as the country in the early 90s was banned from international cricket in the apartheid era. However, Atmanand's son Keshav is nowadays a key figure in the Proteas setup. A bowler who also has enough skills with the bat has been a Protea spearhead in spin bowling in recent times. The 31-year-old so far has represented South Africa in 36 tests, 15 ODIs and 6 T20 internationals, and has 155 combined wickets to his name across formats. Keshav also has 835 runs to his name with the bat across formats, with the highest score of 73 in tests. Sunil Narayan, West Indies. One of the biggest names in T20 cricket and a Kolkata Knight Riders veteran, Sunil Narayan is a household name in the Caribbean and also in India, thanks largely to his long association with the IPL. Narayan also has Indian origins. His ancestors moved to the Caribbean, and Narayan was born and brought up in Arima, Trinidad and Tobago. The now 33-year-old's shot to fame came when he bagged 10 wickets in a trial match, and then in January 2009, he got a call up for the Trinidad and Tobago squad. After that, Narayan went on to make his international debut for West Indies in 2011 and has never looked back since. Narayan has represented West Indies in 6 tests, 65 ODIs, 51 T20 internationals, but nowadays focuses mostly on playing franchisee cricket around the world. He was incidentally named Sunil after Indian batting legend and former captain of India, Sunil Gavaskar. Sports Desk, DD India.
Pat Cummins finished with a 5-wicket haul in his first innings as Australia captain. In the process, the world #1 ranked test bowler also became the first captain in more than 39 years to pick a 5-wicket haul in an Ashes series. The last time a captain had picked a fifer in Ashes series was way back in 1982, a record set by then Australian skipper Bob Willis, and he is Sports 360 Player of the Week. Now shifting focus to football, Bayern Munich have completed a UEFA Champions League group stage with a 100% record for the second time after Liverpool and Ajax both joined the club. More in this Champions League roundup. Real Madrid 2, Inter Milan 0. Record 13-time winners Real Madrid finished top of Champions League Group D with victory over 10-man Inter Milan, who progressed in second place. Inter would have leapfrogged their opponents with victory in Spain but could not convert their chances. Lautaro Martinez volleyed over from close range, Edin Dzeko headed straight at Thibaut Courtois, and Ivan Perisic flicked header against the post. Toni Kroos scored the opener for Real Madrid and Marco Asensio curled in the second. Former Germany international midfielder Kroos's effort was the La Liga side's 1,000th goal in European Cup, becoming the first club to reach that landmark. Substitute Asensio's strike a minute after coming on was a beauty, picking up the ball on the edge of the box and caressing a finish into the top of the corner. AC Milan 1, Liverpool 2. Liverpool became the first English side to win all 6 Champions League group games as they completed a perfect journey into the knockout stage with a 2-1 victory over AC Milan in Italy. The Reds went 1-0 down on the night as Fikayo Tomori lashed home from corner. Liverpool's lineup may have had an unfamiliar appearance, but they were by far the more accomplished side. Mohamed Salah was in the starting lineup and once again demonstrated his predatory instincts with the equalizer 7 minutes later, driving home the rebound after Milan keeper Mike Magnus saved from Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. It meant the prolific Salah became the first Liverpool player since Ian Rush to score 20 goals in 5 successive seasons, also scoring the most goals for the club in the group stage of the European competition with 7. RB Leipzig 2, Man City 1. Manchester City ended their Champions League group campaign with a 2-1 defeat by RB Leipzig in a match played without fans because of COVID-19 restrictions. Pep Guardiola opted to field a strong side which included a first club start since November 6 for Kevin De Bruyne, despite last season's runner-up having sealed top spot in Group A with 1 game to spare. But the Premier League leader finished the 6-match group stage without a clean sheet after Hungary midfielder Dominic Szoboszlai and Portugal forward Andre Silva scored for Leipzig. PSG 4, Club Brugge 1. Already qualified, Paris Saint-Germain finished the Champions League group stage in style as Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi bagged doubles in a 4-1 win over Club Brugge. France forward Mbappe put the League One side 2-0 up in the first 7 minutes and Messi added a third before the break plus a fourth with a penalty after the interval. PSG were guaranteed second place in Group A before kick-off, while Man City, who lost 2-1 at RB Leipzig on Tuesday, had already secured top spot and finished with 12 points, one ahead of Mauricio Pochettino's Paris side. Bruges were eliminated from European competition after finishing bottom with 4 points, 3 behind Leipzig. Mbappe is the youngest player to reach 30 goals in the Champions League less than 2 weeks before his 23rd birthday. FC Porto 1, Atletico Madrid 3. Atletico Madrid reached the last 16 of the Champions League after beating Porto 3-1 in an extraordinary match that saw 3 players shown red cards. Antoine Griezmann scored 1 goal in Portugal and had a key role in the 2 others as Spanish side finished second in Group B behind Liverpool. Atletico led 1-0 through Griezmann when Yannick Carrasco was sent off before Porto's Wendell saw red. Porto's Augustin Martin, who was not on the pitch, was also shown a red card. Substitute Angel Correa made it 2-0 to Atletico in the 90th minute, while Rodrigo De Paul added a third goal 60 seconds later. Porto then earned a consolation penalty which Sergio Oliveira converted with the final kick of the game. Sports Desk, DD India. Bayern Munich beat Barcelona 3-0 to send the La Liga side out of the Champions League knockout rounds. First half goals from Thomas Müller and Leroy Sané set Bayern on their way, with the result put well out of reach for Barca, with Jamal Musiala's strike just past the hour mark, sealing a perfect record in Group E for Bavarians. Benfica beat Dynamo Kiev in the other group match of the day to ensure new Barca coach Xavi Hernandez's team would miss out on the USL round of 16 for the first time since 2004-05 during Lionel Messi's first season with the club. Barca, who made a single chance in the second half and scored just twice in 6 group games, have lost their 2 last matches in all competition following Xavi's first defeat in charge against the side Real Betis. Meanwhile, Liverpool became the first English side to win all 6 Champions League group stage games as they completed a perfect journey into the knockout stage with a victory over AC Milan in Italy. Now it's time for the goal of the week. Mason Greenwood scored a wonder goal in Manchester United's Champions League match against Young Boys. And this is Sports 360 Goal of the Week. Norway's Magnus Carlsen claimed his 5th world chess crown in Dubai on Friday with a crushing victory against Jan Nepomniachtchi, who faded badly after going toe-to-toe with the Norwegian defending champion in early games. The 31-year-old Carlsen benefited from a blunder by his Russian challenger to win his 4th game of the match with the black pieces to take an unassailable lead in the best-of-14 contest. His large margin of victory made it the most one-sided world championship since Jose Raul Capablanca of Cuba defeated German Emanuel Lasker 9-5 in 1921, an outcome that few would have bet on during the initial stages. Now shifting focus to Formula One, the 2021 Formula One campaign will come to a dramatic climax this weekend. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are levels on point with one race remaining, and the title will be decided at an enthralling Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on Sunday. Both have been included in collision 3 times, and what has become a point of concern for F1 officials. Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton and his Red Bull rival Max Verstappen head into the floodlit finale at the Yas Marina track level on points, but Verstappen ahead 9 against 8 on wins, which would make him champion if both fail to score. The pair have collided 3 times this season, including a last race in Saudi Arabia, raising concern about a thrilling season ending with a collision. This looks like history is repeating itself and taking us back to 1997. There is a precedent that was set in the championship in 1997 where Michael Schumacher's point was taken away from him. Ferrari's 7-time world champion Schumacher's and Williams' Jacques Villeneuve went into final race of 1997 at Jerez in Spain, with German leading the Canadian by a single point. One of the most controversial moments of Michael Schumacher's career came in his collision with Jacques Villeneuve in Jerez 23 years ago on October 26, 1997. Ferrari's 1997 F1 Challenger wasn't the fastest car on the grid. It wasn't even the second fastest car, and yet Michael Schumacher arrived at the final race of the season leading the championship. Finishing ahead of Jacques Villeneuve would make him world champion in second year at Ferrari. The first driver's title since Jolly Scheckter in 1979. Of the achievements of an entire season, as Schumacher's ruthless streak emerged in dramatic and controversial fashion. His valiant second place in the championship was stripped from him. The pair collided while battling for the lead, with Schumacher forced to retire and later stripped of all his points for the season for what was seen to be an attempt to take out his title rival. Villeneuve finished third and was champion. In 1994, Hill and Schumacher battled for the crown at the final race in Adelaide, with Breton also a point behind the German. Schumacher hit the wall and then collided with Damon Hill as Williams tried to overtake, with both the drivers retiring and the German taking his first title. Stewards declared it a racing incident. Battle of Generations. The two contenders have collided several times already in their battle of the generation this season, and did so again in Jeddah, when Verstappen gained an advantage by going off track and was told to let the 36-year-old Breton take the lead. Hamilton was taken unawares, going into back of the Red Bull and accusing the 24-year-old Verstappen of brake testing him. The pair also collided at the Italian Grand Prix, with Verstappen's car ending up on top of the Mercedes and both out of the race, as well as Silverstone when Red Bull driver crashed heavily and Hamilton won. Max is pushing everything to the limit. It's for the world title, and both guys want it massively, and there is always going to be tears. The quick car with quicker driver should win the championship, and not by taking each other off. Sports Desk, DD India. And that's all in this edition of Sports 360. Before we wrap up, we leave you with these stunning images of skiing. Namaskar.